I can just sit in my office and watch you guys all at the same time. Okay. So, welcome everybody to our first assessment for learning slash deep questions sessions. Students, I really appreciate you participating in this because it's an experiment. Um, uh, we're trying to find ways to teach students more about this stuff, but then also work with teachers at the same time. And we can't get supply teachers to come in. So this is really kind of weird, but it might work. So thank you for giving it a go with me and being patient with me while I work out my technical difficulties. It's been a long time since I've done PD online, and I'm getting flashbacks of pandemic, so I'm a little uncomfortable. I'm just rocking. Maybe you guys are. Oh, thank you, Bastian. Love that. Um, so maybe you guys are feeling more comfortable because you're not alone. But this is reminding me of different times. Okay, so today's topic, if I can start my presentation here, is actually your brain. So work with me here, if you don't mind. I'm going to get you to take your thumbs, turn them in, curl your fingers down, put your hands together. That's about the size of your brain ish. You know, maybe it's got a little fluid around it as well. It's probably a little heavier, but that's about as big as your brain is. So I'm just turning my microphone off, walkie-talkie. This part here, if you wiggle your fingers up and down, this is your prefrontal cortex. This is where all of your decision making, problem solving, deep thinking happens in your prefrontal cortex. If you open up, there's your thumbs. So all of your emotions, all of that stuff is happening in those parts of your brain. And the most interesting thing about your brain really is that it can change. So you remember some students in Mr. Hughes's class, Mr. Smith came and did a presentation. He introduced the fancy word neuroplasticity. It's a big one, neuroplasticity. And you see that word plastic? Plastic is usually flexible, malleable. It's the same with your brain. You are not born with a set of skills and you just slowly display them for the world. You actually are learning everything as you go, changing everything as you go. The neat part about that is you can actually make yourself smarter than you are now. And there's the traditional ways to make yourself smarter. Oh, is Miss Sherlock's class just filtering in now? Are we just joining? Awesome. Sorry, guys, I was talking while you guys were entering. I'll give you a minute to settle in. Mr. Hughes, do you want me just to keep going? Yeah? Okay, I'll just keep going. Okay. So back to, neuroplasticity is a big fancy word, which means you can change your brain. You are not as smart as you ever will be when you're 5 and it doesn't change. You can make yourself smarter by doing a whole bunch of stuff. There's all the usual ways, doing your homework, studying, all that stuff. Exercising actually dramatically increases your intelligence. Playing sports increases your intelligence. Another really simple but highly effective way to make yourself smarter is to get in the habit of asking really good questions. And there's a couple reasons for that. I'll go into them about how it changes your brain. But if you wanted to increase your IQ, if you wanted to get more creative, be a better problem solver, be a faster thinker, one of the simplest things you can do is get in the habit of asking questions. As a student, in what subjects during your day do you currently answer questions? Not ask, answer. So I'm going to let you talk about that as a class for a couple seconds, and then teachers, you can turn on your mic and give me some of the answers. When during the day are you answering questions when you're at school?
You're now unmuted. Hi. What was the question, ladies and gentlemen? Good Lord.
What was the question?
In what subjects are you answering questions at school?
We can answer that.
Over to I hear Mr. Alvarez's class.
All right. My guys came up with every subject, but if they had to pick one, it was mostly math.
Mostly math. Okay. Awesome. Mr. Hughes's class, I'm going to assume that you guys said, like, yeah, okay, so every
They
subject.
pretty much yelled math as well.
Yeah, math. Yeah. So religion, health, science, social studies. Most of how we study is answering, reading comprehension. You remember your comprehension questions? So the truth is, you answer, as a student, you answer questions all day long. Probably, I mean, if we're going to guess, maybe you answer 100 questions every day. As a school system, we're not yet in the habit of getting students to ask questions frequently. You guys, if there's a test coming, you've got a million questions. Is this going to be on the test? When is the test? How long is the test? What happens? Can I rewrite the test? You've got lots of questions about assessment, evaluation, or reporting. That's good. Those questions are growing your brain. Also, though, we want to get in the habit of asking questions when you're studying different subjects. So that's really what we're going to be doing over the next little while together, is practicing how to ask good questions. Now, you might not believe me. I'm just the wild vice principal who runs around and tells you to go back to class. I mean, what do I know, right? But you might believe these people. So these people are some of the, there's hundreds and hundreds of scientists out there that will agree with me that yes, learning to ask questions actually influences brain activity, makes you smarter. So Dr. Jean Clinton, the first lady in the list there, she is at Mac University in Hamilton. So if you end up going to McMaster, you can meet this lady. I met her. She's amazing. She's so cool. She has shown through MRI imaging that you are actually making your brain better, stronger when you're learning to ask questions. Albert Einstein. Wave at me if you know Albert Einstein. Who knows Albert Einstein? You know that guy? Yep. There he is. E = mc squared. He's a famous physicist, changed how we think about energy and matter. One of the things that he really focused on, people were always asking him how he got so smart. He's like, well, I learned to ask questions. And there's hundreds of other people I could talk about. Those are a few so that you know that Mrs. Michael is not lying. And this is how it works. What you're doing is you're increasing the connectivity in your brain. The more connections you make in your brain, the smarter you are. So there's billions of brain cells in your brain, billions of them. We can't really grow new brain cells. If you smack your head and kill a bunch of them, they don't grow back. Sorry. But what you can do is increase the connection. If this is a brain cell and that's a brain cell, you can increase the amount of brain cells connected to each other and how strongly they're connected to each other. The more connections, the faster your thoughts are, the more creative your thoughts are, the better you are at problem solving, the better you are at test writing. So that's the goal, is increase connectivity. And asking questions is one way to do it. So we're going to do a little activity. Okay, now staff, I apologize for the noise we're about to generate. With your support, I'm hoping for groups of 3, not 4. If you need the odd group of 2 to even things out, that's fine. Groups of 3, ideally. Teachers, if you could be in a group of 3. Staff, if you're in the room, if you could be in a group of 3. I'll give you a couple seconds for everybody to clump together and make small little triads. Just give me a thumbs up when you've got that sorted. Sebastian, aren't your arms tired? I'm going to assume that you're my biggest fan. All right, I got a thumbs up from Mr. Alvez's class. He's got his groups of 2 or 3. Teachers and staff being in groups. Maybe Mr. Hughes' class is almost ready to go, perhaps. Okay, I got some thumbs up there. I'll explain the activity. So back to your brain. In your brain is your long-term memory. That's hiding in here in your thumbs. Your long-term memory is full of all kinds of vocabulary that will start to come out as you look at this picture. So in your group of 3, the first thing you're doing is each person in that group of 3 is coming up with one word that comes to mind when they look at this picture. I'll give you 30 seconds. Okay. Sorry if you didn't have enough time. We're moving on. Now, the next job your group has to together decide which one word is going to be shared with the group. Of the 3 that you shared amongst yourselves, you're going to pick one word per group. So we're narrowing it down. I'll give you 30 seconds as a group to decide which word you're sharing. Staff, when you're ready, if you don't mind taking turns turning on the mic and just giving me a sample of some of the words. Whenever you're ready. First
Trevor,
person.
go.
Tree.
Good one.
Tree.
Okay, we got tree.
Did anybody else get tree? Did anybody?
Wow.
Okay, I heard Africa. I heard tree. Okay.
Go. One word.
Nature. Organism. Ooh.
Okay, go again. What did you say? Scenery.
Scenery.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nobody used my word. My word's perfect.
Mr. Alves, what's your word?
Miyagi.
Okay. You win. Mr. Alves wins for
Where
the
you put the tree on the cliff.
What's
The bonsai tree.
Okay. Bonsai, another good one. I love organism, scenery, cliff, bonsai, so many great words. I loved one of the grade 4s about a half an hour ago gave me the word unique. Great. So we've got a mix of nouns and adjectives. Very cool. Now, what was happening just now is you were activating, see all those little individual light points in the brain? You were going into your long-term memory and waking up all of those memories, and you were coming up with word vocabulary to go with it. So now your brain is primed for the next part of the activity. So what happens next is you're going to stay in your groups of 3, and I'm going to show you more to that image. So you only saw a part of that image. I'm going to show you what was hiding in a second. I have to get out of presentation mode. Just takes a second. Okay, then I'm going to display it again. So I didn't show you everything. I know the suspense is killing you. Here comes the rest of the image. Now, before I share, though, there's something you have to do. It might be a challenge. You're not allowed to speak for 30 seconds when I show you the new image, because we're going to give everybody think time. So each person is going to have time to have their own thoughts form, connect to their own memories before we start sharing. So step one is shh. All right. I'm gonna hopefully staff, we're okay. We've got that going on. Here comes the new picture. "30 seconds of you time." I know it's awkward. I mean, I can't tell. If you're being silent, I know it's awkward. Almost done. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes, meditate. You're coming up with your own thoughts about that. Interesting. I see clapping. I don't know why. I'm going to assume it's for me. That's great. Okay.
I'm going to tell it. They are applauding because they're really proud of how quiet they were. They were, in fact, not quiet.
Okay. We'll carry on. We'll just roll with it. So in your groups that you've already made, your next job is to, together as a group, come up with starter questions about this tree. Now you're like, what is a starter question? What is a deep question? So a starter question is one that is yes or no answers. It's a one-word answer or a one-number answer. You could do a quick Google search and figure it out. So together in your groups of 3, you are coming up with 2 starter questions. If you can come up with more, great. Staff, let me know when you're ready to share some of the starter questions that the groups have come up with. Oh, go for it, Mr. Hughes. Dying to hear.
So we had, can you hear me? Yes. We had a couple good questions, starting with, is it a tree?
Yeah.
Which we thought was fantastic. Is it in Africa? Is it a real picture?
Cool. That's a good, oh, yeah, they are great. Those are great starter questions. Thank you. Awesome. Is anybody else ready to share a couple starter questions?
Semenza, what's your question?
How did it grow there?
How did it grow there? Okay.
Thank you. Yep. Popular. That's it. That's a popular one.
Shout it, Cole.
How long has the tree been growing for?
How long? Yep. Good. Good
Anyone
start.
else have a question?
We got a couple. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it photoshopped?
Good question.
Yeah. Is that a lake in the background?
Is it from Minecraft?
Bash, we're not answering that question.
I love it.
Is it AI generated?
Interesting. Ah,
That's a good one.
questions we might not have thought of 2 years ago.
AI generated.
Wow.
Oh, is that picture even possible?
Interesting.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
You guys are awesome. Very good starter questions. I'm impressed with your ability to ask starter questions. So that is actually, we're coming to an end of session 1 here with me. And I'm going to, students, you're going to just hold on for a second. I'm going to talk to your teachers for a second. So the word of the day is diagnostic. That's what we're doing today. We're doing diagnostic assessment about question asking abilities of students. And staff, you might not have seen it, but in your mailboxes, I've put this piece of paper that outlines all of the curriculum that we can cover as we do our little journey about learning to ask better questions. And these, of course, can be turned directly into marks and report card comments. Woohoo! Begin with the end in mind. And students, thank you. I cannot thank you enough again for participating in my little experiment. And I'm going to be accepting feedback from your teachers, and feel free out at recess. You can tell me what you liked about this session, what I should do differently next time. I'm going to take your feedback. I'm going to use it to improve my performance. According to the calendar, our next date is April 20th, if that's okay for everybody. Staff, you can talk to me about that later. I sent you a Google Meet, Google Calendar link. And there's a little bit of homework. There's about 10 minutes before lunch. Yeah, I know. So your only homework is, we want to capture one starter question per student somehow, some way. So this could be, the case could be that students, it's on you. You've got to document one starter question, put your name beside it, hand it in to your teacher. Go into a Google Doc, share it with your Google teacher, whatever. If you prefer, you can get out the chart paper, go old school. You can just write them all down on a chart paper, write names beside them, take a picture of it. Any old way you can. Your only homework between now and April 20th is to document your starter questions. Does anyone have any questions for me about this session or anything else? I'm assuming there's none, or that you'll find me and ask me at a later time. So that's the end of session 1. Thanks, everybody. Can't wait to see the list of starter questions. I'll see you outside. Thanks, Bastian. Thanks, Mr. Hughes. Okay, bye. Bye.